Well, thank y'all for having me. And I'm glad to hear that you are seeing us more around town. That is great. So, yeah, we are the Blood Connection. We are your community's blood center. So, what that means is that we supply the local hospitals in your area with the blood products that they need. So, just a quick history background information, we are a nonprofit. And we provide for hospitals in the Carolinas and a little bit of Northeast Georgia. And we're also now in Savannah, Georgia. We do have a board of trustees made up of community leaders, and they kind of make sure that we are reaching out to people and have the connections in the community. And so we have been around in the upstate of South Carolina for a while, since 1962. And this is just kind of a brief overview of how we've changed names multiple times and this kind of thing. But basically, a doctor back in the 60s decided, why is it up to the, you know, national blood centers to get blood products to hospitals when people in the community are the ones who are really going to be able to help. So he thought there should be a community blood center. From that idea, you can see there was the Greenville Blood Assurance Plan, and then we moved into a different name. And then now we are the Blood Connection, and a couple logo changes, but we're still the same company. And obviously lots of changes going on, especially in the pandemic, and I'll talk a little more about that later. And so this is what our reach looks like in the Carolinas. And that is, especially in North Carolina, we are getting more and more counties in the center of the state there, but pretty much cover, and the region, the counties that are, the counties that have the color in them, they are the ones that we have hospitals in. So some of these counties we still go to and collect blood because the closest hospital is in the next county over. So actually our reach is a lot more dense than even this, but these are the hospitals that we service. And I'll talk more about that later, but you can see in Western North Carolina pretty much have that covered as well. And here's a bit more information on that. So all of the blood drops are the hospitals that we service. And then all of the little like green and blue little larger blood drops, those are our donation centers. So as you've probably seen more blood mobiles around town, we have centers too. So 2 in the Western North Carolina area and 5 in the upstate, and then 1 in Charleston and 1 in Raleigh and Florence and all these other places on the coastal side of South Carolina as well. We'll stick with North Carolina for y'all, but this is just a glimpse of the hospitals that we service. And then where you see the helicopters, we also partner with helicopter companies who are the ones who help with trauma situations. I was trying to think of the word of respond. There we go. Respond to trauma situations, and they will have blood units on there so they can start transfusion in the helicopter, which is very, very cool. Up until, months ago, that wasn't even something they did on ambulances. They only did it in those helicopters. So it's a big deal to be able to partner with them too. And so here is our Western North Carolina impact, as you can see, and I was talking about that a little bit ago, but we have 4 mobile units in your area that kind of travel around town. Thankfully, it's kind of a smaller area, so we can cover more space in the week than we can in the upstate of South Carolina, which is larger. We serve 12 counties, and we have 2 donation centers. One's in Arden and one's in Hendersonville. And over 200,000 blood products collected and used to save lives. That was within the past year. And that is a big deal because if you think about, that's just the blood products, you think about how many people that impacted, that's thousands of lives in the Carolinas and anywhere else that we were able to help out as well. So it's a huge impact when it comes to all of that. And you'll see here, probably recognize a lot of these hospitals in your area, Transylvania Mission, St. Luke's, Advent Health. They are wonderful, wonderful partners with us. And we do service their, we are the primary blood supplier for them. So when you give with the Blood Connection, you're giving straight back to your local community. We are not affiliated with a national blood center. We are independently managed. So ones that you've probably heard of are technically our competitors. And so our focus is always local. It's on our local hospitals. And so that's why we really push that community message when people donate blood. So elephant in the room, the pandemic. How has that affected us? It has affected us greatly, as you can imagine. Blood drives that we've used to been able to go to, schools and universities we've been able to rely on, we can't rely on anymore, to no fault of their own, but because people are home. And so one way that we have been able to help the community in this fight against COVID-19 is by collecting convalescent plasma, which really isn't anything new. It's actually something they used to treat Ebola, but that wasn't as obviously as prevalent here in the US. But Convalescent plasma is basically a fancy word that means we take somebody else's antibodies and give it to a COVID-19 patient, and it helps them fight the virus and survive. So this has been a whole different arm of what we were already doing. And so we are really focusing our messaging on convalescent plasma donations. If people have recovered from COVID or they have the antibodies, they can come and give plasma. Basically, it's just a longer blood donation. We take your plasma and we give you the rest of your blood back. So we're not taking all of it like we do with a regular blood donation. And it is so, so helpful. Again, with that local message, we are giving back to local hospitals. We service our local hospitals first with convalescent plasma. And it really has been great to see how many people have come out. Great thing about convalescent plasma, you can give every 2 weeks. So that has been something new since the pandemic started, on top of trying to find places to go to host blood drives and getting donors to realize that it is safe to donate blood in a pandemic as well. And so this is a look at all of our blood centers, but obviously the ones that are closest to y'all are going to be the North Carolina ones, but these are the South Carolina ones, just to show you our reach and where we're at growing. As you can see, Florence, Savannah, Lexington, Myrtle Beach. So we have a lot of hospitals to cover, but we ask that the community sustains their local hospitals. So we want North Carolina donors to give back to their hospitals. We want South Carolina donors to give back to their hospitals. We want a community to be what we call self-sustaining. So a community should donate as much blood as they use. And unfortunately, that is harder than you would think. As an organization, we need 800 blood donations a day. That is 800 successful blood donations a day. And if you know anybody who's tried to give blood, you know that for some people it won't work. And so the number is actually 10% of the population gives blood. So we have all these hospitals to provide, and we have these people who need blood, but 10% of the population are giving. And then we have really rare blood types that can get really difficult to service our hospitals on a day-to-day basis, especially when we have a pandemic that is requiring another blood product as a treatment. So you can see that it's a lot of logistics in what we do. So if none of you have been inside our center, this is kind of what they look like. This is actually the Raleigh Center here, but they all pretty much look the same inside. So very cozy, very clean, very doctor's office looking. We want to make sure our donors are comfortable. And then this is a look at what a Bloodmobile looks like and what it looks like in the pandemic with masks and gloves and everything like that. This is a big blood drive we did at the PNC Arena in Raleigh. It's a good example of a large organization stepping up and saying, yes, you can host a blood drive here. What do you need? And that was really wonderful of them. The first time we did it, we saw 1,200 donors in one day. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a blood drive, but an average blood drive is about 30 people. So 1,200 people was insane. It was about 8 hours long. And we got them through. Yes, there was a long wait, because how could there not be with 1,200 people? But it was great to see, we were 6 feet apart. We were all masked up. It was the beginning of the pandemic, and the community really came out. So this is the kind of thing we've been seeing, which is great, but it's definitely tapered off now that we've been in this pandemic for almost a year, I guess. Wow. I've never said that out loud until just now. So just to show you real quick what we do in terms of getting blood to our local hospitals. So obviously we collect it, and that's the part that y'all would see if you're a blood donor. You go to a center, you go to a Bloodmobile, and you donate your blood. And so everything starts, of course, with the donor. And then we call our headquarters here, which is where I'm sitting in Greenville, South Carolina, we call it the Matrix. I have no idea why, but that's what we call it. And so it's our headquarters. And so it comes back here. Every unit will come back here, and it'll get processed and tested to make sure it's ready for transfusion. And then it'll go back out to the community that it came from. So we test it, we separate it into its components, which is just a fancy way of blood has 3 different parts, and we basically separate it out. And then sorry if you're squeamish, we make sure it's safe for transfusion by taking out any identity in that blood. So basically taking out the white cells and making sure that that the person who receives that blood their body won't reject it. So that's what this process is. I like to move by that one quickly because I work here, but I don't love blood. And then the blood and plasma they're stored in their proper environments, which is basically a refrigerator, until it's ready to be shipped to our hospitals. And those wonderful, happy looking people right there, those are our couriers. All of our blood products are driven to a local hospital. So we have to work out all of that logistics too. We have obviously the donations that are coming in day by day. Then we have to work with a shelf life that blood has. So it's kind of like milk in your fridge. You can, even if you don't use the milk, you have to throw it away at some point. That's how it is with us. So we're trying our best, obviously, to make sure we don't throw anything away. So we have that. And then just the travel time and everything um, with getting blood to the hospitals as well. So that is something that we're always working with, and making sure that we're doing that with logistics. So it can be difficult, but yeah, they all drive it. No matter how far away it is from our headquarters, it is driven. All right, and then our reference lab, this is pretty cool. This is actually Blake, and what he does is when hospitals, he works down in our lab, and when hospitals can't figure out a case of why a donor isn't receiving blood or what's going on with their body, he can figure out why and what blood product they need. And so he's down there testing and working with our hospitals and getting the unit that patient needs. So one time I went down there and he was working on a woman who was pregnant, and for some reason she was not accepting the blood that was given to her. And she had some genetic gene that no one knew about, that Blake figured out, and he was able to find a unit that was going to work for her. And so those are the kind of things that he's doing all at the same time, while everyone else around him is figuring out just how to get our regular blood donations out the door and to our patients. Actually, recently, in the past couple of days, we've seen our hospitals have a lot of trauma cases. And so we are putting out an urgent need right this second for more blood because our hospitals have had a lot of trauma. Which is unfortunate. Obviously, you never want to hear that, but they've used a lot more blood on one patient than they usually do. And so we have to replenish that. And so it's an ebb and flow. This is also something really cool. We have a service that we offer to the community where we can freeze people's stem cells for treatments later. So say you have cancer and then you go into remission and you want to freeze your stem cells that will help you recover if you ever get cancer again. We can do that. And so these big nitrogen tanks can store things for 25 years. It's crazy. And people will come back 20 years later and get the stem cell they need because their cancer came back, something like that. So that's Crystal, and she works down in cellular therapy. So we're doing a lot of things. These are a couple pictures of what all of that looks like and how they work in the lab. Moving on, and I will go quickly through this one because this doesn't really pertain, but we do have programs for the community that offer scholarships for high schoolers and for high schools who host blood drives with us. And so that's a quick look at what we offer there. So we also have a give back program. Let me go back. We also have a give back program where for every blood donor that gives at a blood drive, we will give $10 back to a nonprofit organization of that host choice. And so that's also really helpful. That's a nonprofit helping another nonprofit. So we love doing that as well. All right, this is a video and I don't think it's going to play very well through Zoom. So I will just explain real quick, but it's all on our website. There's 4 ways you can donate blood: plasma, which I've talked about, platelets, red cells, which is more concentrated than whole blood, and then regular blood. Basically, that's what this video talks about and how you can do that. It uses the same method that we use to collect plasma. It's called, fancy word, apheresis. And basically we can collect plasma platelets. Platelets are used for cancer patients and things like that. So platelet counts drop when cancer patients get chemo. And so we need platelets every single day, maybe sometimes more than regular blood donations because of just how many people need platelet transfusions. And then just going to tell you about a real story here. This is Emma. That is her so adorable son, Liam. And she is actually pregnant again. She just told us. But this is Emma, and she lives in Greenville. And she was in a car accident when she was 16 and got this huge gash on her head and needed a lot of blood when she got to the hospital. And so she tells her story, and I'd be happy to send you this so that y'all can listen to it. It's only about 2 minutes long. But she tells a story about how, when that person came to donate blood, or that multiple people who came to donate blood and were her type, they had no idea they were going to save her life. 4 days later, we always say to people that it's the blood on the shelves that saves lives, not the reactionary blood donations. So we love to see when there's a tragedy in the US, people come out and donate blood. But we have to remember that the people that save lives when there is a trauma are the people who decided to do that, a week or 2 before that trauma happened. And so we have to be ready for anything. We have to be ready for our community to go through anything. And so it's really important that we have a stable blood supply at all times. It's not because we're trying to be selfish and keep our shelves full. It's because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Nobody does. And, nobody knew we were going to be in a pandemic for this long, but that's why we need more plasma. And we just need to be able to sustain our hospitals for whatever they need. And, even our hospitals can't tell us what's going to go on, tomorrow either. And so we do have an urgent need right now, as I said, because of the trauma, but also just because of COVID-19 and the lack of blood drives we've been able to have. We do offer antibody testing for all complete blood donations right now. And so what that means is we do antibody testing no matter what you give. You come in and it won't look any different to the donor. You come in, give blood, and then in 7 days, we'll be able to tell you if you have COVID-19 antibodies, which is very useful right now, especially if you have not gotten the vaccine. You will know that you have been exposed to the virus at some point. There's a little bit different rules if you've had the vaccine, but we have that laid out as well. So that's where we stand right now. And that is a really brief overview of what the Blood Connection does. It is a well-oiled machine with a lot of logistics, and just know that we are working hard to supply your community with the blood products that your hospitals need and your neighbors need. And it's really important work that we can't do without the community. So sometimes it can get stressful when we don't have what we need, but we do feel like the community comes through every time. So we are excited to do presentations like this to explain what we do. And I'm open to any questions if you have any.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You talked about the shelf life. I was kind of curious how long that was, but also if it's coming back into the community that it comes from and it's not being used, is it redistributed somewhere else, or how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So the wonderful thing about serving so many hospitals is that, when you do have a lot of a popular blood type, you can reallocate it to a community that needs it. So whenever we go into a new community, another community is sustaining that community while that community figures out who we are and starts donating with us. So Greenville was sustaining Charleston when we first moved in, that kind of thing. So absolutely, that's what's happening. We try to keep North Carolina and South Carolina separate, and let the North Carolina take care of them and South Carolina take care of them, since we have multiple hospitals. Shelf life, and so we never want anything to go to waste, of course. So yes, we will reallocate it. And then sometimes, this doesn't happen often, but we are a part of a collection of other local blood centers, and sometimes they will have, like, a blood center in Chattanooga just had a terrible bus crash, and they needed a lot of blood. And so sometimes there will be a reach out there of, does anybody have extra of these units at this time? We will sometimes help. We will always focus locally first, but if we want to be helpful too, because we know if that was us, we would want somebody to step up. Shelf life for whole blood, which is a regular blood donation, it's a little over 40 days. So a little more than a month, which isn't long. And then for platelets, it's only 5 days. So we have to collect the platelets, bring them back here, process them as quickly as possible, and get them transfused to a patient within 5 days. That is why platelets are needed more than anything, because of that crazy shelf life. Plasma, we can actually keep up to a year, something in it where we're able to keep it longer. We're also able to freeze it, which is very helpful. And then double red is the same as whole blood. It's a little over 40 days.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there a cost to freezing the blood to the patient?
Is there a cost for transfusing the blood?
No, is there a cost for freezing blood so that I could use it later?
So that is a little bit different process. It would have to be proven for what you would need it for later. But we do have a department that works with you on that, and we offer services like that, but it has to be for a specific use. But we do that, yes. And I don't think there is a cost depending on if it falls into those parameters.
Okay, and the other question that I had sent you was, I want to know if UNC hospitals were part of you guys.
Yes, we service UNC hospitals. So UNC just bought Pardee in the Western North Carolina area, and then we do the UNC hospitals in Eastern North Carolina as well. So yes, as one system that we service acquires other systems, we do start serving those hospitals that they acquire.
Thank you.
Yeah. UNC was actually part of that huge
question.
person blood drive we did in Raleigh too. So they've been great. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said a question. What's the difference between Red Cross, Blood One, and Blood Connection? That's,
Yeah.
are they
Um,
just competitors or?
Yes. So we are all doing the same thing, but in a different way. So in your community and in the upstate and many of the other communities that we serve, if you donate with the American Red Cross or One Blood, they are not servicing those hospitals in Western North Carolina. The American Red Cross does supplement there, but we are the primary blood supplier for the upstate of South Carolina, where and Western North Carolina, where y'all are at. So if you want to give back locally, that is what we do because we're a community blood center independently managed. The American Red Cross is a national organization. They are focused on getting blood products to anywhere in the country. And so what we're trying to do is make sure we service people locally. So the difference really is local versus national there.
Are you in Caldwell County?
Are we in what?
Are you taking donations in Caldwell County?
We do go to Caldwell County, yes.
No.
Actually, I think I saw there was one just very recently here. Or maybe it's coming up. There was one at Waterlife Church. And I think there might have been one at the hospital very recently too. And one reason we asked them was because they are serving our hospital. That's one of the reasons we wanted to hear from them, because they are now the name that we see because they're serving Caldwell Hospital. So
right. Mm-hmm. And I can send this to you or have Tara send it too, but we have just a really easy link where you can put in your zip code and then we can show you where the blood mobiles are going to be in your area.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we make it really easy, and then you can schedule an appointment, which we are recommending now in COVID. And yeah, so you can see that. But now that you say that, we go to, our hospitals are on a 2-month schedule. So every 2 months, because that's when you're eligible to donate blood again. So our hospitals are obviously first and foremost where we host our blood drives and have them go every 56 days. So you will see us at the hospitals that we service.
When you
Are you looking for locations?
To host blood drives?
Sorry, Mary, go ahead.
No, it's okay. You can go ahead.
Irv, what was your
Are
question?
you asking a question, Mary?
Nope, Irv, you're asking a question.
Okay. Are you looking for locations to hold blood drives?
Absolutely. We always are looking for places to host blood drives. So that's another thing I can send over. There is a separate link, but you can also just email me or Tara, and we can get you in touch with the team up there in Western North Carolina. But yes, that as much as we need donors, we need places to go to collect the blood as well.
And how does promotion for the blood drive work?
We supply
do you
all of the
assist
marketing
with
materials.
that, or is that
We do. So we supply all of the marketing materials, and we give you a blood donation link where your donors can sign up all in one place. And then we have somebody assigned to your drive that will help you through the process of making sure that donors are going to come and know about the drive. So we do handle that part of it as well.
Okay, I'm ready. Do you know exactly what they test for before they decide if they can give blood to somebody else? And can you tell us those things? And then also I want to know if you find something on the blood, do you tell the donor, or do you not know who the donor is?
Yes, so we have an entire department called quality assurance that gets the reports in from the lab. Things that we test for, this isn't all of them, this is just some of them. Hep A and Hep A, B and C, hepatitis A, B, and C, HIV, Zika virus, or not Zika virus, one of the West Nile virus. I'm missing one more. I already said HIV. Those are the 5 main ones that we test for, but there's also other things that a lot of people know about, like if their platelet count is really high or if their platelet count is really low, we will let them know that. Actually, one woman found out, she donated blood with us. We let her know that her platelet count was low, and then she went to the doctor. She ended up having cancer, and she's fine now, but we're just glad that we caught that and helped her catch that. But yes, we have a quality assurance department that sees those reports and then calls the donor and also sends a letter with information about what it means. So yes, everything that we do is set by the FDA. So the FDA is letting us know what to test for and things like that. So we don't make up our own rules and our own testing. We have to follow FDA guidelines.
Is there an age limit on donations?
Nope, there is not. As long as you're feeling healthy and well, you can donate blood.
Anybody else have questions?
Is there a contact for the blood connection as far as finding out where blood drives are or setting up a blood drive?
Yeah. So I'm gonna
You
send those.
probably were going to get to that, or maybe you already did.
Yes, I'm gonna it's easier to just send you the link so you can just click on it real quick, and so I don't have to tell you how to get there. But I will send those over to the email that Tara gave me to log into this Zoom link. Which, April, was that your email?
That's mine. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Yeah. So I will send it to April, and then I'll just have exactly what all the links are, and then contact information for the person. Her name is Pam, and she is runs the Western North Carolina area and is familiar with Caldwell County as well.
And we'll share that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can share it and reach out that way.
Thank you so much for coming. I don't know about everybody else. I thought it was very interesting. And
Yeah.
I didn't think, I was really looking at the picture you wanted to skip by real quickly because I thought it was really kind of interesting. So.
Hey, you want to go back? Let's go back.
I thought it was really interesting, but now blood doesn't really bother me. So.
Okay. Well, so I have to go downstairs sometimes. It's right here. Ugh. I have to go downstairs sometimes and I'll just cover my face. It's funny. They're like, oh, she's here again. She works in marketing. She's not in scrubs. I'm like, yeah, I don't know how you guys do this. But yeah, just since you find it interesting. So like you'll see that in the middle there's the bags up top. So that's the bag that the donor actually gave in. And the one at the bottom is the bag that we that it ends up in. And those little filters in the middle are taking out. It's got like these, basically the most layman's terms way I can say this is like it has a sticky feature, and the white cells, so my white cells wouldn't like your white cells. Like your body would attack mine because it's like, oh, that's an identity of blood. I don't want that in my body. This is foreign. And so what those little things in the middle there are doing are taking out all the white. They're basically taking away the identity of the blood. And then that blood at the bottom is basically neutral. And so it can be transfused. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, and so for those hundreds of units that we get in a day, every single one of them has to go through this. And so we have company-wide, we have about 500 employees, and people don't really know that we're that large. But Western North Carolina, as you saw, is one of 5 major regions that we cover. And so that requires obviously a lot of employees. So yeah.
Great.
They do. They amaze me down there in the lab for sure. Especially Blake, who I talked about, who is basically doing cold cases downstairs or something, like an investigator.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me. I didn't really know that stuff happened. I never really thought about it, I guess. I didn't know that was part of it.
Yeah.
I've donated blood, but I never kind of really knew what happened from that point. So
yeah, and to think that your blood could be like that missing piece for someone else, you know?
Yeah, that's really neat.
On top of us testing for things, we're also saying, you know, oh, this person doesn't have this in their blood and they do have this and they have this. And so we're like marking that on the bag. And then if there's somebody that comes through with all of that, just like you, then yeah, we're going to grab that one unit and take it where it needs to go. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that really is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you coming and chatting with us today.
Yeah.
It was great. It was very informative and I appreciate it. And if you want to send me the links, I'll definitely share those with everybody.
Sure thing. I will do that when we get off the call.
I've got one more question.
Oh, sure.
You're showing the picture of the drivers.
Yes.
Can they speed?
No, they can't. Their car beeps when they are going above a certain speed.
Is that the
Okay.
first time you've been
Not as
asked
much
that
as you do,
question?
Mary.
No, it is not the first time I've been asked that
Okay.
question. Well, because some hospitals have a time limit. So from the time they put in the order, some hospitals say they need it in 30 minutes, and sometimes the commute is longer than that. And so I have asked a courier, like, what do you do? And they're like, we just do our best, but we can't break the law. We're not going to do that. No, their cars are equipped with all of this speed tracking, and they get calls when they are going above even 5 miles per hour, the speed limit. I hope you haven't seen one speed.
Thought Mary was going to volunteer to be a driver.
I know. That is why I am not a courier. I'm from Atlanta and I drive like it, so I would not be canned for courier. I just stay in the office.
You need to watch out for her. I've been to Atlanta. Scary.
It's insane. It's insane. You need to be aggressive or just don't drive. Yeah,
I'm going to go with the don't drive.
Yeah,
too.
that's what most people do. But that's where
Yeah,
I learned how to drive, if you can believe it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's where my dad took me on the interstate.
Well, guys, do you have any other questions for Allie? I'm sure she has a busy day since she kind of got, this wasn't planned for her. So,
It's okay.
well, thanks, Allie.
I was
We really
wondering about
appreciate
fire.
you joining us and giving us the information.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, Herb, did you have a question?
I was going to ask about the vampires, but never
Oh,
mind.
we have those here too. They live in the dark.
They show up on the 41st day.
Yep.
They show up on the
Halloween.
41st day. Take
Yep.
away the leftovers.
Our donors call us out all the time. They're like, oh, the vampires are calling me. That's what they always say. Or they're texting me again. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, so I'll send you those links, April, when I get off the call here.
Okay, thank you
Okay,
so much.
thank y'all. Y'all
Thank
have a great
you.
day.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.